Hey, Glenn.
Yes, Jamie.
What do you get when you have two different kinds of tomato plants and a tuning fork?
I got nothing.
If you're at Stafford High School, you get your own genetically engineered tomato plant that fits the school's needs. At Stafford High School, their food actually goes from the cafeteria to the compost pile, to making soil, to planting their plants, then harvesting, and then back into the cafeteria to serve their students.
It's an amazing process that happens in their greenhouse.
Mike Cargill, he was a transition to teaching teacher after working in the zoo setting for many years. Retired, decided to go back into teaching, and this is what he's doing. What he's done in his 4 to 5 years at Stafford High School teaching science is pretty awesome.
It is. And one of the coolest things we saw, I think, was the tomatoes. First, they were too big. Then the cherry tomatoes were too small. So what do?
You genetically engineer your own to fit your school's needs.
Yep.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep. Check it out.
We collect everything except milk or dairy products and meat products from the kitchen, the staff, from lunch, what the kids had for breakfast and lunch. And we put it in the compost pile and we compost it. And that's our soil. That's what we use to grow everything in, is the food that they didn't eat. Schools are notorious for wasting large amounts of food. And part of it is legislated because you have to provide the food for them. And so at the end of the day, we would collect about 18 to 25 pounds of vegetable matter. We also collect coffee grounds from the coffee shop here in town. And so we get about 25 to 50 pounds of coffee every day, grounds. Now that's wet weight. None of this is dry weight. And we compost it. And that's where our soil comes from. A bag of soil costs about $500 for a greenhouse.
Wow.
And so, you know, in a small community like us, we can't afford $500. Anyway, we take the food and we compost it. That's really sad that I can't find any food. And we use the napkins as the carbon product. We use the food as the nitrogen product. We put it in here, and we keep temperature on it. What's happening here is the bacteria. Here's an apple.
Okay, you keep a temperature on it. You come out here and check the temperature of the compost pile.
Yes, we check the compost pile every day. The bacteria in here are the same bacteria. They're thermophiles. So these are the same bacteria that are bubbling in the mud pots in Yellowstone. That fascinates me. I love to say that. These are the same bacteria that are bubbling in the mud pots in Yellowstone, and we have them right here. Now at 165 degrees, this pile becomes anaerobic. Right now it's aerobic, means there's lots of oxygen in there, and everything's working out really well. But as they are eating all this stuff, they're using oxygen. And as they use oxygen, this pile becomes anaerobic, means without oxygen. Now we have to turn it. So we take this pile and put it over here. And then everybody gets oxygen again, and they're happy. And they keep eating, and eventually it gets to 165 degrees. We turn it back over here. So we have to turn this pile about every 3 days. In 14 days to 21 days, we take the lunch that you ate, and we turn it into soil. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it starts. Come on over. Okay, so we bring the compost from there. So it's got lots of bacteria in it. It's got a very diverse microbiology organisms in it. And we bring it in here and we put it in here. And these are our worms. And so the worms add additional microorganisms and have nitrogen fixing bacteria. And so when you can see the worms, and the worms are continuing the digesting process. And
so you
they're
brought
taking
the
this.
initial worms in?
I bought these. You can go dig them, but I don't know where to go dig them.
Okay.
So I bought them. The one bag was $12.
Okay.
And there was like 500 in the bag. Okay.
So they
And so they'll reproduce they'll double their population about every 90 days. And so we bring them out, we bring the soil from over there into here, and we put it in with the worms. Look at the size of that one. And we put them in with the worms, and the worms continue the digestion process. And they add more bacteria, which is what we're looking for. They add nitrogen-fixing bacteria. We don't use any fertilizers in this greenhouse. We don't use any pesticides. None. Zero.
But
so except for the worms.
There's a stigma that bacteria is bad.
Nope,
but
it's
that's not the case.
Not the case at all. One of the things that we've got to do is understand that soil is a living organism full of bacteria. And we don't want to destroy our bacteria in the soil. What we're doing in traditional agriculture is creating a monoculture bacteria. We don't want to do that. We want to create that there's only one or two types of bacteria in the soil.
Okay.
Here we have a million different types of bacteria. And that bacteria breaks down the nitrogen. So if you're a farmer and you put on anhydrous ammonia, you're putting on nitrogen, but it's in an anhydrous form.
Yes.
It can't be used by the plants. The bacteria has to break it down into nitrate. And so there has to be bacteria in the soil to take that ammonia and break it down into nitrates for the plants to use. That's what we're doing here. The worms are breaking down, and the bacteria from the worms are breaking down the nitrites and ammonia into nitrate. There's 3 steps: ammonia, nitrite, nitrate.
So there's a difference between nitrite and nitrate.
Nitrates. There's an additional oxygen.
Okay.
So when you apply fertilizer to your fields, you're applying nitrogen for the bacteria to fix for the plants to use. That's what you're doing. And we're doing the exact same thing, except we're using food from the cafeteria.
You're using organic matter.
Right. And so we add a little bit of sand to it, and then we plant it and start growing. And so we're able at this point to provide microgreens for our students every week and fresh lettuce 1 day a week. These are radishes. So we're able to provide radishes for our students that are organically grown. And so we come out on Monday morning, we pick radishes and carrots and lettuce and microgreens, and we feed it to our students.
So how long does it last?
65 days. It takes 65 days to go from seed to maturity.
Okay.
Is that the question?
Well, no, I was wanting to know, how long will it be editable? Editable.
Oh, well, 1 day.
You have to eat it the same day you pick it.
We only pick enough of what you can eat in a day.
Okay.
But we can only, and we're such a small greenhouse right now that we're not able to.
The consumption isn't a problem.
Right. Yeah, because we can consume everything we make easily. Our goal is to generate more food. And we're looking at vertical growing. So we grow up instead of across. We're hanging stuff. These are tin cans that come from our kitchen. The tin cans that our kitchen uses, we bring out here, we punch holes in them, and that's our growing containers. We also use pop bottles. So any pop bottles we find, we just cut and we use pop bottles.
And I can see that you're going vertically, and these are pallets. Did you get those from in town?
I know where those came from.
Yes?
Yeah, those have never been used for anything negatively, and that would be something you'd have to worry about. But if I'm living in a third world country, I could use pallets to do vertical growing beside my house, beside my hut.
Okay, so when you said that, you mean those didn't come from a place where there's, let's say, oil or diesel or something coming off? Yes.
Right, so I know the history of those particular pallets.
But that's something you should consider if you're wanting to do this.
Right, absolutely. And the tin cans, you probably shouldn't use after they rust. Because heavy metal concentration. See, I don't know. So the next thing we're doing is waiting for a tin can to rust. Then we'll do leaf analysis to determine if we're picking up heavy metals from the tin cans, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if we are, then we can't use them after they
So
rust.
then you take them
We
back to
know-
classroom and sample the leaves.
No, we don't do
No.
it. We send it to
We
K-State.
send it to K-State.
It requires concentrated nitric acid, which in a high school situation probably isn't appropriate.
What are these?
That is trout lettuce, which is just a lettuce. We concentrate on red lettuce a lot, and there's a reason for that.
It's
Red
beautiful.
lettuce is vitamin A. Vitamin A helps develop cognitive thinking. One of the problems in the world is we don't have enough vitamin A being pushed to kids. And so cognitive thinking is slow developing in people that are starving to death. So it's hard to teach them things because they haven't had enough vitamin A.
No, the vitamin A. What are the sources of vitamin A?
Red vegetables.
Red vegetables. That's it.
That's it. That's the easiest. There's other ways, but that's the easiest.
Huh.
Okay, behind you are tomato plants.
Oh, I didn't even notice them back there.
Now, and when I say our tomato plants, I actually mean our tomato plants. These are ours. We hybridize these plants. So the kids came out here and we picked these. We picked those. And then we take them to the kitchen, and the kitchen says, we have to cut this to give it to the kids. We go, well, yes, you do. Here you go. They go, well, we don't want to put man hours into cutting big tomatoes. And you go, well, that kind of makes sense. So we said, well,
Okay.
grow cherry tomatoes. And they go, well, those are awfully small,
They're
right?
plant size.
right? So we say, well, that's okay, because what we'll do is cross the two and make this.
Okay, that didn't happen overnight.
So that's what we did. This is a Jet Star,
Okay.
this is a cherry, and this is Stafford 349.
How did you do that?
Well, all these have flowers, all you have to do is cross-pollinate them,
Okay.
right?
Right.
And how do you pollinate tomatoes? You take a
Right.
tuning fork and you touch them. And that's how you pollinate tomatoes. The bee doesn't crawl inside of a tomato. The bee can't crawl in here. A bee can't crawl in there. But the pistil and anthers are in there. And so by the bee landing on this, the vibration from his wings releases the pollen and it falls down onto the state pistil.
You don't need the insects.
No, we don't have any insects in here.
But you do have to make sure you touch this on every single flower.
Every single flower.
So
Now-
the people that complain about not having any tomatoes in their garden, all they need is a tuning fork.
They're just not getting enough pollination. In your garden, you'll get about 20% pollination, and here we get almost 100%. So we try to use as much space as we can. We're about half full. When we're done, this will be completely full. There will be just small aisles to walk down. And at that point, we should be able to feed our school every day fresh lettuce.
Wow.
And radishes and carrots. And so that's our goal.
How did you, if you've only been here 5 years,
The greenhouse they built the year I came.
was it already in motion when you came?
No, we didn't have anything. And so somebody said, well, we're going to put a couple little plants in there, and they did. And I'm going, well, you're running an entire greenhouse for a couple little plants. That seems silly. Let's run this and feed the kids. I have a student who's attending K-State on a free ride scholarship. Doesn't play football, doesn't play basketball. He knows about food.
And he's going to feed people.
He's going to feed the world. And he's there full paid scholarship
For academics.
for learning to feed
Yes.
people. And so, we always look at football and basketball as the opportunities. The opportunities really are in education. But anyway, that's what we do here. And so that's how we entertain the kids all day long.
Entertain, you're educating them all day long.
All day long. So, we start early in the morning and go till 3. So that's our class.
think we actually did okay.
All right, that'll work.
Yeah. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Dang, I think we actually nailed that one.